Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode. Today, man, I've got something very special for you. We're going to be talking about something that I'm very passionate about, and that is typography. Small disclaimer, this is just a beginner's guide, but trust me, even with this tiny information that we're about to learn, it's going to help you out so bloody much. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. So the whole reason why I'm so excited about this particular video is because text is absolutely everywhere, and this is, I'm not exaggerating, seriously, go check it out yourself. If you go outside, you can find signs, marketing is, everywhere. And on top of that, we've got social media, we've got the internet, we've got news, we've got newspapers, we've got magazines, and the list goes on and on and on. So we might as well just learn how to grab some boring looking ass text and make it look popping with contrast, with different types of fonts, So that's the whole purpose of this video, just teach you some basics to go from this to this. So yeah, it's a no-brainer, right? Let's get into it. You know what's crazy? I just literally did the whole tutorial to realize that my camera stopped filming a while ago. So the whole thing has to be redone. But the show must go on. So let's keep going. So the topic typography can get very, very extensive. But for the sake of keeping this video sweet and short, we're just going to talk about basics and very general terms. So first things first, let's talk about the 5 different types of fonts. So we're going to start with serif, sans serif, script, and decorative. So let's just grab our DeLorean and let's just go back to the Roman time to talk about serif. You can without a question say that the Romans are the OG serif inventors. And the reason being is because when they would use like their brush, they would like to make this little thing with their brush strokes. That's a very difficult word to say. Brush strokes. Brush strokes. There you go. Brush strokes. Oh, you can just about it. Okay. So they would just make a brush stroke, and at the bottom and at the top of the letter, they would add these little things, and that is actually a serif. These little things at the bottom and the top of the letter. It's quite interesting, right? And even though the Romans are the OG serif users, it wasn't until the 15th century when the whole thing just exploded and everybody was like, this font looks cool. Let's just use it for all of our texts. So like I was saying a little bit earlier, each font has a subdivision. If you're a little bit of a geek in regards of typography, like you're going to have like different widths, different heights, like you're going to have all these different types of things. But if you don't want to geek out about that, do not worry. There are 3 things you need to know. The first thing is that serif is the most used font when it comes to printing, and just in general you can find it on a day-to-day life. That's the first thing. The second thing, and it actually blew my mind when I found out about this, it's a more conservative font, which is crazy, right? The third thing though is that this font is going to give you a sense of trust, which is incredible because with something like so simple as these little things at the top and the bottom of a letter, you can create psychological feelings. Now let's talk about the second font group, which is called sans serif or sans serif. I'm so sorry if you speak French out there. Like the word sans means no in French, which it's no serif. That's the type of the font. So that's pretty much it. Those beautiful things that the Romans added while doing the brush strokes are gone. Let's just go back to the future, to the modern era, which is the 20s and the 30s. And this is the era where the sans serif thing just again exploded, thanks to German designers and fonts such as Futura and Helvetica. Now, a serif use is going to be used for printed media such as newspaper and stuff like that. A sans serif font is going to be the opposite. It's going to be perfect for online stuff, websites, social media, you name it, most likely is going to be sans serif. Why? Because it gives a very modern, a very sleek, a very efficient and a very clean look. Let's talk about the third group, which is going to be script fonts. And this one, in my opinion, has just exploded within the last years. Of course, it has always been very popular, but it's now because of people, for example, like Stefan Kunz. Probably, if you don't know him, go yourself a favor and go check him out on Instagram. It's just this amazing artist, you know, and they work with lettering and stuff like that. I'm ahead of myself in here. A script font is the one trying to mimic, you know, like a beautiful cursive handwriting. And we can divide it into formal and casual, but again, let's just put these terms into a box and let's just set it aside for the next video. The purpose of this font is pretty much to evoke that beautiful romantic handwriting from the 17th and the 18th century. And you can recognize them because they have all of these beautiful, you know, like extras and slabbing and stuff like that, and they just make it like mwah, beautiful. The one thing with this font is that you have to use it carefully. It's a very beautiful font, but if you use way too much of it, it's just way too much to read. You know, like this is just for like maybe like a word or maybe like a small sentence or something like that, just to make a statement like I'm here, you know. But if you want to make like a whole paragraph with it, I mean, at the end of the day, it's your decision as a creative, but most likely that would be a no-go. Because if you even try yourself to read a whole paragraph of this, it's very tricky, it's very time consuming, and your brain is like, no mate, not gonna happen, So you have to handle it with care. And then of course you're going to have your decorative type of fonts, which is like graffiti and something a little bit more out of the box type of font. These are not to be used for big text or paragraph because it just makes your brain work quite a lot. But you have to be very careful with this because they definitely have to have a certain vibe to transmit some sort of an idea. So now that we've covered the different families of fonts, let's talk about something very, very important: kerning, tracking, and leading. Simply put, kerning is the adjustment of space between two individual letters. Now tracking is the overall spacing between groups of letters, and leading is the vertical spacing between lines of type. So to kern our text, we actually have three options. Two of them are created by default by the system. They're going to be metrics and optical. So to change the kerning, all we have to do is select the text tool, double click the word or the sentence we want to kern, and just go ahead and click metrics or optical. And by doing this, the software is going to analyze the whole word. Now, if we want to do it a little bit more professional, still with your text tool selected, click in between the letters. And by clicking option right and left, you are going to change the kerning, as you can see. And the same thing is going to apply for leading and tracking. So to make your text look more professional, there are a couple of things you can do. The first thing should be doing your tracking and leading before kerning. The reason being is to avoid undoing the balance in the kerning adjustments that you've already made. When possible, do the kerning yourself and do not let your software decide for you. Remember, less is more. At the beginning, you might get carried a little bit away, and this is what you have to be very careful of. So practice as much as you can, and if you want an extra push-up, make sure you check this fun game online. It's about kerning, so all you have to do is just move the letters around. And for me personally, this is very fun, and it's a great way to practice your kerning. So last but definitely not least, let's talk about font pairing and font contrast. So one of my favorite methods is pairing a regular and a bold font to create a subtle contrast within the font. Also, try pairing script and bold fonts. And to create emphasis, you can use regular and italic. So the whole purpose of doing font pairing is to create what we call font contrast. My favorite method is using the golden ratio, which is 1.618. So yeah, there's a little bit of math involved in typography, but trust me, it isn't as bad as it sounds. To use it is actually quite simple. We need to take the font size times 1.618. It could be just the one time, it could be 2 times, it could be 3 times, as many times as necessary to create something you like. And just like I mentioned it a moment ago, less is more. At the beginning, do not go crazy with this. So before I finish the video, I do want to mention that a very useful resource, and definitely one of my favorite ones, is Google Fonts. The reason why I love it is because you can get all sorts of free fonts and you get to enter your own text, so you can get the feel of what the final result might even look like. So there you go guys, I really hope you liked this video. And like I said earlier, I'm 100% sure you're going to be using this information quite a lot because text is absolutely everywhere. So if you like this video, by all means, please make sure you go bananas on that like button. And my goal for 2019 is to make this channel grow a little bit faster. And if you want to help me out, click that subscribe button. It's right there. Right there. Right there. There you go. So next time I upload a video, you get notified immediately. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video, which should probably come on Saturday. It should probably come on Saturday, and is going to be related to this one. I'm going to be showing you how to make a kick-ass thumbnail if you're a YouTuber. So I'll see you on the next video. Bye!